Destination Clinton. A tourism meeting hosted by the Clinton Economic Development Commission, John Allen Chairman, Andrea Reu, Tourism Subcommittee.
Member of the Economic Development Committee, as is Kirk Carr, and Sadie is our consultant, our green leader. But while we're waiting for coffee, do you guys have any ideas of other people who should be at this table? These were the people, you are the people who showed up for the first round. And then in April, we're going to try to invite the entire crew again. But we would like representation from all the different parts of tourism. We have some restaurants here today, we have some marinas here today, and some other aspects of tourism. But if there's somebody who we think that should be here, so we've also invited Shamard Vineyards, and we've also invited
Clinton Crossing.
Clinton Crossings. So as the other two big players. But if there's anybody else you think would be interested in moving this forward, this group of, to try to create some sort of a group effort, do let us know. Paul is new acting.
Well, I'm representing Chamber of Commerce. Representing Ken Hartley at this point.
So one of the things we were thinking is getting some of the emails, because it's hard to do everything snail mail, and we, as the Economic Development Committee, don't have access to emails, so we could kind of cross-check the lists and see if there's anybody that we think we want to be including in these meetings, so we're not constantly counting on this group.
Yeah, I think we have
somebody for the town. Like,
we have two of our Board of Selectmen, Jack Sherbin and Tim Guerra, are two of our Board of Selectmen.
Department of Public Works, and because I mean, I hear all this grumbling around about changing roads, one-way roads here and there. That's 100% going to affect traffic and tourism.
That's not going to happen.
No,
That one-way road is not going to happen.
The what?
That one-way road you're talking about.
I heard a one-way road at Grove Street. That's not happening either?
So, it's not happening right now, and probably will never happen.
The one-way street down by Grove Street, by my place in Lobster Lane?
That's just talk, I went to the police commission on
Yeah.
Monday night. It's not in the plans right now, they are talking about it for the summer. I know you're down at the end.
Yeah, so
but
I mean,
it's just talk right now, and if you do are against it, you just show up at the police commission meeting, because they were talking about Beach Way being a one-way. That's not going to happen.
I'm not necessarily against it one way or the other, but I think that, I mean, part of the problem with the town of Clinton is, does the town want tourism?
We definitely want tourism.
We do, the people sitting in this room, but does the town want tourism?
The town wants tourism. The town is critically dependent upon its businesses, and we want you to survive and thrive. So that's why we're making these efforts to get these groups together. The Economic Development Committee is a town board commission, and that's why we're trying to start these efforts to reach out, to include more, to be more inclusive, to be more inviting, to be more open to suggestions.
I think we'd like to have more traffic and less congestion.
I think the idea of the shuttle bus was the best idea. How's that going to go on?
So
I ought to bring that up.
Actually, one of the things we were thinking about, so the economic, Sadie, do you want to start?
Yeah. Why don't we
So I was
just
I was
start?
just trying to fill space and time, but
start.
yeah.
Okay, so, welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. As Andrea just said, we're really gathering you here today to show you that, we want your businesses in Clinton. We're open to your suggestions and your ideas, and, we want to hear them. So, just to give you an update on, what we've been working on since the last meeting, I handed out a list of the kind of the action items that we created based on the last meeting. So first of all, the town is looking for a town planner, which would address some of the things like updating zoning regulations to be more attractive to developers, updating zoning regulations to promote a brewery, doing some more planning in the Marine District, really addressing, some of the congestion, some of the parking issues that have been going on in town. So once the town brings on a planner, we're hoping to get some, some plans in the works for addressing some of the challenges that you may be experiencing, especially in the downtown and the Marine District. Christine also sent out letters to some of the property owners on Main Street, who have been not as good about keeping up with their properties, and just trying to make those connections so that we do have a good relationship with them and that they're willing to kind of work with the town based on what we're looking to do, what our vision for the future is. And the other big thing that we've been working on since the last meeting is we've started a branding process for the town. So I'll just speak a little bit about that. We're basically coming up with kind of a...
I'm so sorry. The brewing machine at the local broke down. You're here. I'm sorry. I was sorry. I've been sitting there for half an hour yelling at you.
Pass around cups.
So I'll just speak a little bit about what we came up with from the branding session that we held in November with a number of kind of key stakeholders from different sectors within the town. So we had education represented, historic preservation represented. We had, different town boards and commissions, business owners. So kind of a broad swath. The key question was, what do we envision for Clinton's future? And this is what we came up with. We came up with kind of 6 overarching concepts. We want a bustling downtown that is visually appealing and connected to other local and regional assets. We want additional visitors to key attractions like the waterfront, historical sites, and sports fields. We want additional young residents drawn in by affordability, good schools for families with children, access to transit, and outdoor amenities. We want residents and business owners more engaged with each other and with the town. We want a thriving industrial base supported by local, regional, state, and federal resources. We want a business-friendly reputation spurred by internal buy-in for the town's goals for development. So that's kind of the overarching themes, and then we're basically going to put together a positioning statement within the next month or so based on these kind of adjectives: great people, down to earth, welcoming community, diversity, affordable properties, good investment opportunities, placemaking, appealing landscape, waterfront, outdoor activities, opportunities for growing families and growing businesses, relationships and pride among community leaders, a hometown feel that surrounding neighbors don't have, nostalgic connection, hidden gem, energy, and excitement. So we're working on different taglines, and it's eventually going to come down to looking at the font that we use, the color palette that we use for our materials, for signage. So that's something that we're going to be working on, and hopefully the next time we meet, we'll be able to have kind of a more concrete, this is the town's brand. So, but just to give you an update on that, that's kind of, how we're proceeding with this. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to add?
I have no idea.
I just talked a little bit about...
I have no idea what I missed. I'm really sorry.
I talked a little bit about what we have done since the last meeting, a little bit about the branding work.
John, one of the questions I asked was about the shuttle, and I want to...
Yeah, there was about 3 things. There was the branding, which was helpful. I mean, I think that's as you mentioned, it's kind of an iterative thing. We got started, but that should really help drive how we communicate in the town. Also, how we should do signage, things like that. The shuttle, which I've actually been to the mountain 2 or 3 times on. I don't know if some of you people are new here, but last time we talked, and this has been kind of recurring on the thing we talked about in town, was somehow getting a shuttle together that would kind of connect all the points in town. I mean, so it would go from let's say, Clinton Crossing down to the marinas, go out to docks, to the beaches, Chamard, perhaps, the railroad station. I mean, this would be a town shuttle. My vision of it is something really tricked out. I mean, it really looks like a town shuttle. If the duck boats didn't have the problem they had in Missouri last year, it would be that kind of a thing, thinking big. I went to this is the EDC now, but the EDC, we went to the Capital Expenditure Committee with a request for some money. And what we've done is we kind of like, because we don't have any empirical data how this would really work, the feeling is, look, if we could really connect the 4 million people that go through Clinton Crossing every year, this is the summer, to people coming in the marinas, to both sides of town, all the way, I just picked docks because it's the end of town. It's all TBD, the actual route. It would really kind of help move people around in here. It'd also be something you could use for advertising. We could actually get something going here. The CEC's response back, and what we did is kind of truncate it down to say, let's do a 2-month test this year, just pushing it. So if we had the month of July and August, really just the definite months when everybody's here in town, kind of scoped out a cost for renting to, this is not what I wanted originally, but renting to like Ford 15-passenger vans, you know, the ones you see that go back and forth to churches with all the stuff on the side of them kind of thing. Like 2 of those, decorated up, speakers on the top, something, whatever. 2 months, it's about a 15 or 20 mile route, and I put it in maybe one every 25 minutes or something like that. The timing during the week is TBD, but you know, drivers, all this stuff. He added the whole thing up, it's about close to 20 grand for 2 months to do a test. Even me personally, being a Republican kind of person, asking taxpayers to pay for something like that, there's something rubs me kind of wrong about asking taxpayers to do it. However, we kind of started the thinking going on with the expenditure committee. They said nice but no nice. So then we went working on our budget with the town, because we also asked for, EDC asked for a town budget, basically somehow to subsidize, is there a way that we can actually get this thing started? I've never heard people say it's a stupid idea. Usually it's like, do we know it works? I mean, how can we really develop what works to do something long term? So we're not going to get money from the town. The town's not flush with anybody, but it does really seem to rest on this group, and even a broader, Paul, because you're even a broader thing. It's almost like a Chamber of Commerce thing. And one of the, you know, just to be straight and candid here, the current kind of like makeup of the Chamber of Commerce, they don't get involved in things like this. It may be an opportunity to find out, is there a way, and Jeff's not here, Mastriani, who's, yeah, yes, but you know, Jeff is, maybe we could find a way we could put this thing together. So it kind of ends up with, if we, as a group, or an expanded group, or a reconstituted Chamber of Commerce that really got involved in stuff like this, to put this thing together, I think it'd be a good idea. I just think it's going to cost money, but the nut is somewhere around 20 grand now. Mr. Knudsen over there, who's also a member of the EDC and is a master of finding things, knows that somewhere in Missouri there's the trolley capital of the world of really renting. What you really want is a trolley. Another thing that looks like it's a trolley.
Something he can repossess.
Something that he can repossess, because that's basically his business. He's kind of a repo guy, but he knows where all this stuff is. So it's just like, I just think it would really be great for this town, especially for our downtown, to start bringing people in. And you know, the holy grail is there's 4 million people a year that go up north of 95. How do we get them into town? How do we get people, and as John talks all about, you know, people from Mattituck and the other side of Long Island, the whole north shore of Long Island, how do we get them over here? It's the kind of thing it's an idea, it's not easy. I don't think we're going to find the town to do it. And I kind of agree kind of thing. But I think it would be a wonderful idea. It almost needs a committee. If everybody thinks it, got stares at it, it's like, what the hell are you talking about up here? But it's the kind of, if we could find a way of either, if you don't pay for drivers, that's around 8 grand. The fuel is about $4,000. You got to pay for that anyway. Putting together, finding a trolley somewhere that, you know, I mean, this is a group, you know, there are ways, maybe we can find one. You buy them, they're about 27 grand. You know, you rent it, it's probably 27 grand. It's one of those things if you buy the damn thing. But if there was a way that this group could actually, or extended group, or the chamber would say, look, we can donate drivers, you know, this scheduling kind of, it's something we should talk about. But I'll let you know, we've talked about it at the last meeting. That's what happened since then, which is basically nobody's going to pay for it but us. But we did do some research into what could happen. You know,
But
Paul?
we've been knocking our heads against the wall trying to figure out a way to get people out of this center of town into all different areas. And we actually touched on a shuttle for Christmas in Clinton.
I know Lisa was having a hard time finding one.
Yeah, so, just some of the ideas we talked about paying for the shuttle were sponsorships, businesses that are gonna be impacted. I mean, I know I'd pay to have my name on something that's gonna bring.
People way out there and way out east.
Right, then they won't have to walk, they won't have to worry about driving. So there are other avenues of revenue that perhaps we can look into there too.
I mean, people interested in this, I mean, the kind of thing of like, how can it hurt, or is it really, we could really, I think it serves two purposes. One is actually moves people back and forth, and the other is, I'm a big believer, it makes the town look alive. It makes there's something going on in the town. When we do have events going on here, or there's something happening, and you do see certain vehicles driving around, and especially in the summer, the town does have a whole different tenor to it.
And the two big things being the Marine District that's kind of like locked in, and the Clinton Crossings area that's kind of locked in. We're locked in, meaning they don't know where the rest of the world exists in Clinton. We know all the opportunities, but they don't know, and it would give a way to move them through.
In Chamard, and then out here, they're closed this week, but, I mean, this is all TBD, how do you want to hook it up with the register? But how I cut this thing down was about 20 grand if we asked the town for it. But, if it's smart people, we can do this thing. I mean, you gotta pay for the fuel, you gotta pay for the insurance. There may be a way of pitching in for something. The EDC would love to work with anybody from this group, from you, with Lisa, whatever. I mean, if we get the chamber more involved in EDC too, it would be great, because it is really a business kind of event, which is where EDC comes in, not necessarily a town expense, but,
Why don't you let the group
yeah.
give you feedback?
20,000 doesn't sound that bad.
What?
It doesn't seem like that big of a number.
Oh, for the town, anything with a comma in it, that's a big number.
The 9 town transit buses that have advertising.
They do.
Have local businesses advertise on these, whatever you call them, shuttles, buses.
Yeah, and that's, that's the size we want. I think we just keep on using the word kind of like burlesque, but it's much more of a carnival kind of
Do you
thing.
need a license, a special license to drive those?
Well, I usually drive cabs, so I need a hack license usually, but I don't even know if you need a livery license here or not.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing we could find out.
I think the question comes down to, are the people in Clinton Crossings really gonna get into a shuttle bus, or are they gonna get in their own car to drive downtown?
And that's why it's almost, you have to develop some empirical data actually trying it, if it was going to work. Now, Cedar Island does have a shuttle, which is kind of erratic, but for people that come in there, they'll take them around for people that spend time there. I haven't heard anything back from Jeff on how that worked, but it does, if we're going to actually make this happen, you almost got to have some real data. Maybe if you have real data, then town would subsidize something, or.
The trolley makes the most sense, because at least it looks like hop on, hop off, you're not gonna charge people for this, right?
Well, that's another one. We had said, we had charged people $1 or something like that. What my feeling was, no. This was part of the chamber, part of the town saying, look, we'll take you anywhere. Or you could, like they do in DC or something, you pay $4 and for that whole day, you can go wherever you want. You go from wherever you want on the trolley. I mean, this is all to be determined by the group. Where it goes, how often it runs, kind of had it in the afternoon, had it longer on Saturdays, what times it stop at night, the kind of thing.
A hard schedule would really help.
Yeah.
Something that it has to stay to.
I mean, it's almost like there's stops here,
It has to be.
and it's every 40 minutes, one leaves.
Whatever it is.
Right, I mean, it's got to be, next one's going to be there in 10 minutes.
Yeah, people go nuts. If they're watching their clock, and I gotta be back here at 2, and it's erratic.
Where would it be tied into a town website?
Well, we had, I mean, if we did it, we could put it on the town website itself, which I think the towns here represented the town board of selectmen kind of thing. I don't think you have any problem putting that on. It's when the EDC would put it on the
Well,
website.
then Clinton Crossing might.
Clinton Crossing would do it. I mean, they're up for it. I mean, Clinton Crossing is up for it, whether people use it or not. It may be the other way. People, where they're interested is people that are coming in from the marina, go up there to go shopping when they're here for the day, out of what the wives do when the guy's out fishing, and then they come back down. That kind of thing.
All the businesses could put on their Facebook page. I mean, there are a lot of ways, getting the word out.
We could really help with that. I mean, EDC can.
It just needs to be an app. Maybe
Yeah.
put it on our website, it's just an app that somebody already wrote.
Yeah.
Have you thought about stops?
Well, what I had just kind of the outer points. I mean, obviously there would be one at Clinton Crossing, there would be one down in the marina area with Benchamels and whatever. There's other marinas in town. I mean, there's the ones down by, there's the town beach. I mean, I'm just thinking where would be interesting. Liberty Square, just because it's in the center of town. Chamard, which is kind of out of the loop, but it's a pretty impressive place for people to come to our town to visit that. And then
Docks and...
Docks, because it's like the end. I mean, you gotta,
There's a lot of restaurant down there, Westwood Lobster.
right, Lisa's, even Dino Belli's, I mean, there's something, the town does not end at Liberty Green. But that's the whole thing in deciding it, about how often you can do it. I really get into the itinerary.
Like a half dozen?
I was thinking 6 to 8, something like that. Overcomplicating, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just curious, I'm a new resident, so I moved to town in May, so the two large groups of people that I see, definitely Clinton Crossing, but also Hammonasset. Is there a way to work with Madison to get some of those people from?
You can't,
Hammonasset?
there's something about, you can't drive on to Hammonasset to solicit things to come off. I mean, you could get down there, but it's a long way from the end of the Hammonasset feeder down to the parking lots. I mean, that's another 1.4 million people supposedly to go through
There's a
there.
really big audience that's out there. I mean, maybe Madison's doing the same thing, to trying to get those people out into the town.
Maybe.
Partner with them.
Maybe.
Clinton Crossing, Hammonasset, and then, I don't know, it's just an idea.
No, I mean, we have this discussion. We're more than just Clinton. We should think that way. We should think almost the whole shoreline. But then again, we have to convince people to pay for something that's going to take people down to, Donahue's,
John, are you the new president of the convention?
Yes.
Okay. Does everybody know you? I mean,
Yeah.
why don't you introduce yourself? Because I think it's...
Sure, so, well, I live at 90 Crown Road, so that's probably the most important thing for this group. It's been a challenge, but I am the president of the Connecticut Convention and Sports Bureau. Our main role is to help bring meetings, events, and trade shows to the state. Less so on the tourism side, but when we bring a group in, so we have NCAA men's basketball in Hartford, so they're in town, but we try to get them outside the Excel Center and into the community to spend money. Attractions, restaurants, whatever it happens to be. So we're really trying to bring economic impact to the state. So we're statewide, we're not just Hartford. So, and then we're affiliated with the Office of Tourism, so there's things that I know about how they work that I can share as well. So they have, attractions can put on a free listing on the site, a little bit more than just a listing onto the Connecticut Visit site. So, I mean, there's things about packaging, how we package things together, which they promote as well. I know a little bit less about tourism, I'm more about events. So, but just as a resident, I think I moved here on May 4th, and then we go for runs in Hammonasset, and then also Memorial Day, it's actually where all the people come from. So I just see it as an asset for Clinton to get those people out. They seem a little bit landlocked in some ways. So if we get them out easily, so they don't want to drive it through, but they may be looking for things to do, especially at weather days, if they want to get out of the beach. I always look for partnerships, so that's why I just said, Madison, I'm sure is looking at that same audience, and how do we get, they want to get back to their downtown too, so.
But I think a little bit we compete with,
Yeah.
we want them to come to
definitely
Clinton, we don't
competition.
really want them to go to Madison.
Oh, no. But when you're looking at resources, that's the only reason why I bring that up, because if we're looking at spending money, maybe, they chip in towards it as well. You don't want to make this bus route so long that it's worthless, but And maybe it's
But in the broader sense, if we're actually going to promote Clinton hospitality and tourism,
Yeah.
that's where, you know, Westbrook, Madison, we could promote this part of the shoreline hospitality as a destination.
Sure.
I mean, that's where you kind of pull everything together and make it kind of worthwhile how you would advertise and say, come to the shore, and if you say Brook to Madison or whatever. I mean, that's good. The reason Bob is here, though, is because he's a resident. The EDC asked him to come to our meeting in February to present, and we were talking about what do you guys do, and we mentioned this manufacturing and hospitality groups are getting together, and he really wanted to come to audit, so it's like, I mean, he says he may not know a lot about tourism in the state of Connecticut, but he knows a whole lot more than I do about it, and he knows people, which is the important thing right now, if we're going to raise our kind of awareness of, you know, especially since a resident, we can lean on them when we see them.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that, like with Shamard, I mean, they're a great asset too, and the whole wine trail, so how do we access that? How do we get the people that do the wine trail into the town? But really, that Clinton Crossing is sort of like the big one. I mean, how do you get people, will they travel out of, you know?
Are there resources at the state level that our tourism group could utilize? Or programs, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to sort of delve into it a little bit, but yeah, I
Okay.
can definitely get some
That'd be
context
great.
for you as well. We can explore it with them as well,
Yeah. Thank you.
for sure.
Maybe we could find seed money even, you know, for something like this that would help us incubate it. A lot of this is about incubation. And once you prove something, then you go out and you say, we know it works. Now you have the animal spirits that maybe work for you a little bit better.
I'm just curious if, you know, elsewhere in the state they have the same questions and trying to get people out. Maybe there's a model somewhere, you know, if it's New London or wherever it is, I don't know. I mean, I can just ask the question. But, you know, I think all the shoreline towns sort of have that same, you know, challenge, that trying to get people from the beach, get people where they want them to travel, any city or town, city, same difference. So there's got to be a model out there. I think definitely look around.
And I'll just add that I know that the town of Enfield several years ago received a grant so that they were able to kind of fund the first year of a shuttle program. I'm not sure if that grant is available. I'll have to do more research into it. But, you know, with the change of gubernatorial administrations, there might be different priorities. But if that grant is available, you know, if it comes available in the summer or something, that should be something that we look into as well.
Does Enfield still operate their trolley?
Yeah, I believe they do. I know it was really successful, though they used it also, there's the community college up there, so they had that, that they were able to use the shuttle for. But yeah, I know it was really successful, so I'm pretty sure that it's still in operation. Yeah.
Because the other question is the second year then once they proved it, how did they fund it would be the other question.
I think that the town added a line item in the budget once they proved that it was
So I guess the
successful
question
and
to this
worthwhile.
group is it something that you are all would consider chipping in to get started, or is it something that you want to see start a different way?
Don't all speak at once.
The ability to do advertising.
Yeah.
Of course.
Half of it is really advertised. I think it's a promotional, it's a gimmick. It's a promotional gimmick.
Absolutely.
That, you know, has to at least pay for itself somehow, but an opportunity to make the town look like there's a lot of stuff here. And advertising, because that's right, my background, advertising serves a couple of purposes, not just to get people into your work, but makes it look like stuff is going on.
Yeah.
You know, it has this kind of like over-the-shoulder kind of thing. Even if we aren't interested in pay it for it, is there a group of people here that like to work with us? I mean, you know, there's 3 or 4 people with the EDC, just to say let's put together a plan that everybody thinks is a good idea. I mean, it's if we go to the town, this comes back to that. The ability this group has as a lobbying group or an advocacy group for how do we promote all this stuff we have in our town more. If you go to the town, not just the EDC, but you kind of go with a representative of the people that are actually the taxpayers, the tax makers in this town, we may have a better reception. You gotta say, look, we represent the hospitality industry in town, Chamber of Commerce, we've got an idea here, we like to do it. I mean, one is you probably have to get the town to approve it anyway, the cops in this town, for sure. Make sure we can do all this stuff, but try to get some other people's skin in it. You know, I mean,
I'll get a rep for the chamber.
I mean, Lisa would be great, because she's already found out how hard it is to find a trolley, you know? It's a start, you know, these things start.
Do you have your own bank account, like the EDC has their own bank account?
No, we're a line item inside of the town.
So can you collect money on a non-tax? Like, what, part of the problem is $20,000 is really peanuts when you think about it.
Right.
Advertising, I mean, I paid $3,000 or $4,000 for a billboard
Right.
for a month. So, I mean, if everybody chips in, it's really nothing. And you could also put cards inside of the trolley that show all the attractions. People will pay for that too.
Or
John,
used or something, yeah.
John, that's an issue as to how you do that. I mean, you know how we do the brochures that go up to Clinton Crossing, is we send all the money, as you know, directly to Technique printers, and they just pay for the printing. So, you know, the town isn't even in the middle of it financially. Now, I don't know how you could do that.
But maybe we could do it through the Chamber of Commerce bank account.
Maybe we do it too, maybe.
I'd check.
I mean, somebody's gonna have to have the insurance in their name.
Right.
Someone's gonna have to write checks
Right.
and collect advertising money and
Right, it may be,
be exactly right.
Right.
It's not like you find 20 people, everybody throws in $1,000 and you got this. You still.
Well,
gotta
Coca
keep-
Wall insures anything for, right? I've never, it's any good or not, but it says it's insured.
For a price.
Yeah, for $125 he insures anything. I don't know, nobody's had a claim, so maybe it's all bogus.
So maybe I'll check to see,
Yeah.
maybe we can either partner this or run it through the
Right.
chamber and.
I mean, but you're right, I mean, all the logistics and the details have to be done. I mean, the placemakers may be able to get involved.
well, and then, I mean, the other thing on the insurance is it could be a rider on the town policy. I mean, it's just it's, all these things, you just have to go through and figure out what's the least expensive and easiest.
If you're doing this in the summertime too, you know what, the kids will take advantage of it, driving to the beach. Kids
Yeah.
don't have rides. You can also go to the high school and try to find a kid to write an app for you. You know that I'm sure there's some computer program kid that can do a
Yeah.
website and app, maybe make a project or something.
The project itself can have benefit, just getting a lot of people together to do something like this, that's kind of cornball, but it works, you know.
I think most of the destinations, as far as like restaurants go, would be willing to say, if you donate $5, you get a free appetizer.
I'm sorry, I never mentioned chow in all my points, I must have been insulted.
No, that's okay.
So we actually talked about that at our EDC meeting last month, and one of the feelings was, at least for the start out, not to overly complicate it, to make it as simple as possible, because once you start adding all those different components to it, then it starts to break down.
But I think like with the Summerfest, everyone comes together and donates money to do the fireworks. Why wouldn't people be willing to donate for something that is essentially going to benefit the town in the summer?
No, I'm not saying that, I'm saying
Okay.
a coupon thing. So
Okay.
you put a coupon in and Steve doesn't want to do the coupon, but you're paying, that, so then it becomes, then it complicates.
I understand,
The
yeah.
coupon thing, that's all I'm
Okay.
saying.
Can I say something? Bob was referring to the campground. The people there want to eat.
Yeah, for Madison, I was always talking about the
beach.
beach, just really come in the gate, take a right, and then maybe just one stop inside the gate.
Because we've been
Like a
trying to get
circle.
we can't get the brochure down there, right?
No, we put brochures in there. They're happy to have them at the campground, for the campground.
Yeah,
It's in that parking lot.
That lot right outside.
Outside of the,
Where they sell the plants?
right, where they sell the Christmas trees.
Yeah.
Dan, that's closest to us.
That's certainly within a walkable distance from the campground.
Sure.
You put your bus there, they walk 5 minutes, get on the bus and come into Clinton and have their
People
lunch
don't
or
walk
dinner.
2 feet.
They're never going to let you do it. I went there with the stand-up paddleboards and they don't want to have anything to do with state. You gotta call somebody.
Well, they have, that's a public.
Don't we have
That's
somebody,
state, that's Cohasset Park.
Not only with
Is
it,
that one on the
it's worse than that, because they have a state vendor that you have to go to, actually.
Well, I mean, you could. Just because it's a pain in the butt doesn't mean you can't give it a shot, because you're right. I mean, those are people that are looking to get and go somewhere.
That's actually the biggest people
I
we
mean,
get on that
all
trolley.
they can say is no, you know, they can say no, but who cares? A lot of people say no, but that's, I think, the kind of thing this group could do. I think what Kate was saying though is, I don't think overcome it, but if we were going to come up with a real schedule card, you would have all these things on it, you know, I mean, Kirk does a great job with the promotion thing, but you could have each one of the stops and what's available there.
We did that.
Second drink is free, you know, the first appetizer, whatever you wanted to do,
Right.
just get people in, you
Or we
know?
went for Christmas in Clinton last year, not the year before last, we had that passport
Right.
where, you know, you stop at the local places. You've got your
A Clinton
passport
pump
stamped when
crawl,
you're
by the
entered
time at the end,
into
we could buy
Yeah, exactly.
get the
But then you get the trolley.
Santa-Con going on.
No one's everything.
No, but if we do, I think this is the kind of thing we could kind of move forward on, we'll get some people. Is anybody else? Kate, you got some ideas down there. I mean, it's not a lot of time. I mean, this is kind of a virtual thing. You know, maybe we meet occasionally, but you're all busy people. But virtually, kind of, we keep you connected as to this, what we've got. What do you think? Who else do you know would be interested in this? I mean, this is, hopefully we do that, all right?
What about the stops and signage, permanent signage?
The signage itself, of putting signage in town, I mean, permanent sign,
Where the shuttle would
oh,
stop
yeah.
at all these different points. You're going to be dealing with the stake or somewhere on state roads.
Right.
You're going to be living in town, and you have to have something of a permanent structure that people know, whether it be colorful or bright, whatever it may be. This is where this trolley or bus is going to stop. Have a schedule on it also. But whatever stops, there are 6 to 8 stops, there would have to be signage there. So people know.
Nine-town shuttle does it, right? I mean, there's doing the signs like you actually have, and then there's doing the sidewalk, which a lot of the stuff is you just seek forgiveness, you don't ask permission, you know, otherwise you never get it done. Putting a sign up is pretty obvious. Putting something on the sidewalk that says, stand here for fun, or something like that. I mean, it's,
The town shuttle.
yeah,
as long
town
as it's-
shuttle,
as
just
long as
a
it's
PKL of the town shuttle, and it says, you know, wait right here, we'll be right back, kind of thing.
If you're talking about doing 2 months, you could do A-frame signs, just put them
Right.
up.
Yeah, you could do the sandwich board thing.
But you have to put them up and take them down, put them up and
Yeah,
take
even
them
if
down.
you just did this only in the summertime.
Well, right now.
That's what we were thinking, 2 months.
Yeah.
July, August.
July and August makes the most sense for,
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like this is another thing to decide is how long do you have to do it? It's like carved out 2 months because the July and August are pure. You know, August people go back to school. 1 month is maybe not enough because it takes a while for people to understand this thing works. You know, I've just written, hey, we can take a shuttle. I mean, just getting the word out. And then you can kind of extrapolate how many people are here and what another month would be. You could start actually putting some numbers together and say, especially with the, you know, with the advertisers say it was worth it. Yeah, I'd be willing to sign up again. Maybe then you can send a book, a future to say, we've already got this much money coming in, we can do it for 3 months next year. I don't know, but that's, you know, groups is a big group, but if we could get anybody, I don't drag you into this thing because you don't look like you're running for it, but, you know, it's an idea. Shows a little bit.
I'll look into it, but I'm not gonna call the state.
No. You have to call it, I mean, this is where, this is where the EDC could help you on this. This is where the EDC could actually, you know, they could run interference. We could go ahead and say, well, call the state, we'll try this, we're safe from the town EDC, we want to do this thing. We can help you with that. So it's, you know.
Yeah, John, you can get us some sign permits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want me going to the zoning board. To send somebody else.
We'll talk, right? Oh, you got my copy.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Other thing, one of the things that was, on the things that we've done since then, Mike Mozo was talking about how he's been trying to buy the building, and, you know, for 15 years, and the guy doesn't want to buy it, we want to fix it up, and it's kind of like, it opened up a broader situation. We've got a lot of absentee landlords in town. Downtown itself is kind of like a, you know, it's not what, aside from some wonderful places that have opened downtown and just you can't get in, it's like getting into Rowell's or Cafe Luxembourg now down there. It opened up a larger discussion since we last met, but, and Bob, what it is, we've got people that work on Main Street, they've got absentee landlords or landlords that don't care, they're not gonna put any more money in it, they wanna raise their rent, they won't sell it to anybody, so why, so basically the whole thing kinda degrades. And it's not just Mike Nozzo, which is Granda Pizza, which he's got a whole bunch of 6 whole pizzas there, and the threat is, I'm gonna have to leave town. It's the whole strip. And Christine wrote a pretty good letter. Was basically to that landlord saying, we'd like to talk to you about what your future intention is for the building and for Clinton. I mean, it's almost the beginning of a conversation to say, we'd like to talk to you, basically, almost acknowledging them. And then it opened up a larger discussion of, for people that are on Main Street, there's going to be this whole new development going up north of 95. The Indian River thing going up, which is going to be really great for some people's business, but a big way. And then it said, well, let's just talking about 2 or 3 landlords there. Let's talk about the whole downtown area. This kind of hopefully maybe starting with a Main Street revitalization effort, which really would be Main Street. It doesn't apply to everybody, but it applies to the town. All those landlords there, the Stafford Building people, the CVS building is still owned by, the old CVS is still owned by CVS for 4 years, or rented, sublet. So the nightmare is they're going to put a Dollar General in there or something until their lease is up, because they're going to have that. But just almost do an inventory of all those landlords along. Steve, you own that whole no, but the whole thing along Main Street there to say, let's talk to them individually and get them together. Say, go ahead.
I think in doing that, you ought to take a look at the corridor study that was just announced this week and show that to these business owners along Route 1 and say, listen, this is the vision that the town has from Route 1 all the way north, and we would like to extend that to downtown.
Yeah.
They need to be part of the overall vision of the town, so that we're just not picking on them. We've got a design for the entire Route 1 corridor, and now we want to expand that to downtown. And maybe that might be a way to get them to understand that we're trying to develop all the way from Clinton Crossing, actually all the way to the shore. And it's got to be done. One step is already done. You do the downtown, and then you extend that all the way down to the marinas.
Actually, the downtown could be shorter, because the other stuff is going to take a long,
So it's got to be part of
long
this
time, right.
entire vision that incorporates those 3 sections of town: the marinas, the downtown, and then the area from the highway up to let's say the high school, Middle High School.
I think some fear that the development up there is going to leave downtown, it's going to suck some life out of downtown, and we probably need to do something proactive to blunt that so that it doesn't leave the downtown.
I'd like to say a few things.
Okay.
After our last meeting, I took notes down, and I went home and I really pined over all this. And I was very close with the first developer's landlord at the All Morgan property. And he basically said, is Mike Shanahan, he said, we don't care about Clinton. Our goal is to develop that property, keep all of our people on premise. We don't care about south of 95. That's not what we're in business for. We're in business to rent our properties, keep our customers on premise, let them go across the street to the outlet center, case closed. Emphatically, he said, that's not our position. We don't care about the town. Second is Route 1 is fire department, police department, churches, government buildings, no tax base, no retail. If you drive up and down Route 1, what do we have? So take a picture of Madison. They took all that and moved it to a field, developed downtown. They moved their police department, their government buildings away from downtown.
Out of the floodplain too, which is nice for a fire department to be in a floodplain.
No, yeah, but if you just look at our Route 1 with, fire department, police department, government buildings, churches, that's what we have, what it is. To current landlords, they're old Connecticut Yankees. They don't take pride in their property. My landlord doesn't take pride in his property. I know that. They collect the money, they go to the bank, done. They're not going to sell. They're not going to refurbish. That's just the way things, nothing's changed. I've been in business for 25 years, and I've seen nothing change, little things. Our blight ordinance has no teeth whatsoever. I had an attorney call me up a couple of years ago after he had just defended his property in a Middletown court, saying, and he was boasting how our blight ordinance is a joke.
Pat? Because I'm the one that wrote the blight order, I'm the one that complained.
Well,
Superior Court, he went up there.
Yeah, he did. And he puffed up his cobra chest and he was like, wow, your blight ordinance sucks. It has no teeth, it's a joke. And that's why that building on the corner is the way it is, because he doesn't have to do anything.
It's one by Chester's Barbecue right in the corner.
Yeah, the white building?
Yeah, he wants $600,000 for it right now.
Well, because it's CVS, of course, they raised the price.
Yeah, he wanted 400 last year, now he wants 600,000. The Pearson School, people are talking of putting a library down there. Why? Why do we want another non-tax paying entity there? How about condominiums, high-end condominiums?
So my understanding is that in February, there's going to be a town meeting or a meeting where everybody comes and gives their input on what they'd like to have in there.
The town isn't talking about bringing the library there.
Yeah.
And the library has no interest.
No, they don't. I mean,
Yeah,
you're right,
they're
that
very
should be taxable land now.
It should be like high-end condominiums or something. The next thing is, the last thing, when I just said, all of this stuff is not like flipping a light switch. This is a lot of time and it's a lot of money. And for the EDC to even consider revitalization of downtown, you have to get every landowner down here. And not business owners, the actual people
Right.
that own the properties, and have a skull session with them and say, this is what our goal is. Help us out, do something. The guy at Friendly's, you gotta be kidding me.
You're right. Well, the guy next door won't sell that
No,
property.
I know.
Only sight unseen. You're gonna buy it without being able to look at the soil.
Yeah, so
No, it
there's a lot of
doesn't
things
happen,
here, but Route 1, I'm telling you, be careful what you wish for and ask for in this town. That development at the Morgan property is going to impact, I predict, 20%.
Can I say something? I wish Christine were here. The developer of the Old Morgan, he's also in the process of buying a large piece of property on Route 1.
Yeah, the Pearson School. He's
No, not at all. That's all I can say, because I went on school.
Oh.
Yeah, he's buying a large piece of property
Good.
on Route 1. He's putting an interest in town, not just...
Yeah, he's a
But
local.
what Steve is saying is what...
Yeah, but he said the other person had no interest in South, which is probably true.
Right, good.
But this developer is in the process of also buying a large piece of property on Route 1. There's two brothers in the local.
Everybody will sell.
They're gonna put
Just-
money into
right.
Clinton. So you'll be glad to see. I just want to...
But the end result was that, is that, just as starting with, let's do an inventory of all these people that are these landlords, who they are, talk directly to them. Now there are these kind of like unknown boogeymen out there that, besides Mr. Chittenden, who I spend some time with every so often, but, who are they, what do they really, and then try to get them to sit down to figure out, we want to work together to change the downtown. One, it's your property, for crying out loud, so if you're really a Yankee old flinty guy, it's how do you make more on your money, whether you upgrade it or you sell it to Mike. And it is heavy timber to do this. It's a long slog.
A lot of money, a lot of
But
time.
you gotta start it somewhere. And I think one of the things to take advantage of having this development go up there in Morgan, here's an opportunity. A lot of things are happening right now. This is a good time to get people's attention, I think. And you're right, I think, the downtown is gonna need some attention.
A lot.
Yeah.
Steve? Oh, I thought you had, something you wanted to say.
Okay,
Hopefully if they're getting older, they'll die. Maybe the younger generation will want to sell just to get the money in.
Well, sometimes you can do
my
this.
landlord died 20 years ago.
Really?
Does anybody know?
He died 20 years ago. It's held up. An attorney runs the estate, and he doesn't drop a nickel into my building.
Really?
Not a nickel. He has a maintenance guy we call MacGyver. It's held together with bubble gum and paper clips. And I'm not kidding, 20 years ago, my landlord died, greatest guy on the earth. This attorney could care less.
Really?
He just bills the estate every month, and that's what I'm dealing with. and that's what a lot of the
That's right,
parcels in
some
town
P.O.
do.
box in Fort Lauderdale, the checks go to.
I love the Lupone family, love them to death. They just collect the money.
Do they own?
They own most of downtown.
Right,
I love them to death. They just
that's why Mario's always smiling.
give me the money.
That's right.
And they'll put a coat of paint on that building one year and a coat of paint there, but they're not gonna sell. They're not gonna rejuvenate. Chittenden,
Yeah.
look what he's doing to Mike, he's forcing them out.
Yeah,
So I think where you guys have to start is getting all these landowners in town. And a lot of, as you said, absentee. I believe the guy at Friendly lives on Long Island. He wants $1 million for that.
yeah.
It's worth like 500,000. Start there. The landlord, the people that actually own these prime pieces, parcels of land in this town is where you have to start.
Okay.
And we're on the same page with that one. That kind of takes us to the end of what we've done since, what we've tried to do, what we've done, and where we are since the last time we met. Paul's left, but one of the other larger that I'll hand down was chamber reconstituted. I don't know how many people, members of the chamber are in this room, but I'd say if Paul was here, is that the Chamber of Commerce itself is basically non-existent in the town. It's a wonderful social group, but a lot of the things we're talking about is where a strong Chamber of Commerce would take the lead, would advocate for, would talk about certain things, not just the EDC, because you're representing just businesses, not just new business, but the current businesses. I think there's an opportunity, EDC think there's an opportunity for the chamber to get more involved, maybe to, right now they don't have a head, and Paul's basically doing it de facto, being running the Chamber of Commerce. How many people are members of the chamber in there? There are certain things that we really could be doing together, the EDC and the chamber. So when you do ever meet with the board, some people on the board, there is an opportunity for the chamber to kind of like muscle up, get a little bit more involved in business building or business retention in towns and just, fireworks fest, which are great, but it's a little bit off the center where the bullseye should be. That was the only other thing. I guess one of the things, since a lot of silence in here, is there anything more that you want to know? Is there some things we should be discussing that you feel like is wanting here, that's lacking, that we didn't bring up, there gripes or issues that you folks have that...
I think Sadie had some talking points.
Yeah, I have a few kind of questions that I just wanted to put out to you all, see if we can, get some ideas. First of all, the Marine District. So obviously that's an issue, especially for, all the marinas. Just wanted to get your thoughts on, what really needs to be improved, what are your issues, and how can the town potentially help you with that? And as you know, we're looking to get a town planner, so hopefully, we can put together kind of a more strategic plan for that area in terms of zoning, if we're going to make changes to that, just to, kind of improve some of the issues. But just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
That's your cue.
I don't think you want my thoughts.
I got your thoughts.
I was at Planning and Zoning this last week, and Chris Shapiro came in and was concerned about the height. Said that the height, I think, is 30 feet. There's a maximum height. And the other part of it is that if you build up, that it's based upon, the elevation is from 1987. It's not, so if you built up as they have in one area where they've been putting in dredging material and they want to build on that, they want to be able to build, and the other thing is they want to build an inside place to store boats. That needs to be more than 30 feet. So there's some issues like that need to go before planning and zoning, and I think the individual marinas probably need to work together, so it's not just Chris or John, and maybe with EDC together, talk about the issues that prevent you from fully developing the marina district in a way that would generate more tax revenues, would make it more vibrant. I don't know, those are,
It's a bigger thing than that. First of all, the zoning laws are all ass backwards if you read them. So what Chris Shapiro is talking about, that map doesn't exist. So he, in essence, cannot build that because the map that they say, that they cite in the zoning
As the basis?
as a basis, does not exist.
well, you had to go to somebody, somebody named Bardner to find it.
Track it down. But there's so many things written in zoning that are incorrect, wrong, worded wrong, legally crazy. And you have, I mean, quite honestly, the zoning department, you got a couple people on that planning and zoning commission that have a God complex, and if you're not part of the good old boys club, doesn't matter. I mean, this is all really kind of us sitting around a room talking, but everybody, I'm assuming, has been to one planning and zoning board meeting, right?
Or they can watch the videos too.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, yeah, now
this is great.
now the football.
Trying to pass any of the stuff that we discussed
context.
right now is going to be an uphill battle.
But I think if we did it as a group rather than individuals, I mean, and maybe we put together a task force that said we want to have a zoning revision for the marina area and have people from, have marina owners in that, and also maybe some people in the residential areas, so it's balanced, it's not just business interests.
Well, residential owners never want anything here.
Well, I mean, some of that, I mean, look at Shamard. Shamard had a big problem.
Yeah.
Because they were having parties and it really annoyed the neighbors. But once they opened communication with the neighbors, a lot of those problems went away. So some of this is communications. A lot of it's misunderstanding, and some of it is outdated regulations. And maybe a few ego complexes.
Yeah, probably, but you also have the underlying issue is you can change all the zoning you want, but with septic systems, it doesn't matter. They could change an M zone and allow retail, and they could allow residential, they could allow all that stuff, but you don't have sewers. No one's gonna be able to do it anyway. It's not gonna make a difference.
That's why
And
the
you're gonna fight and fight and fight, you're gonna go to CRAD, and I'm just telling you, you're just spinning wheels. It's never going to happen.
Let me ask you another question. How would you feel about a sewer district down in the marine area? I mean, one of my issues with sewers is that there are 1,200 properties that can't be handled on site that have been identified. I don't know whether the marina area is in that. And the people that own those properties expect the town, the taxpayers of the town, to fix their problem and pay for it. I'm on the other side. I say, I think we ought to fix your problem, but you're going to benefit from it. You ought to be the one that pays for it. And that can be done through a sewer district, so that you set up sewer districts where there are areas of town that you put in sewers, and then it becomes another mill, or two on their taxes. I mean, maybe this is not the place to talk about that, but I mean, sewers are a problem in the town, particularly in certain areas. And I mean, Natasha knows that they just had the problem with the National Bank building. They spent somewhere around $100,000 to replace the septic system. I mean, for probably a lot less, we could put in a septic system for downtown than $100,000. But now they put in the money. If we put in a sewer system, they're sitting there with this investment.
$100,000 down the drain.
Yes.
Literally.
So I mean, there are some issues, trying to figure out. So, I mean, problems I've got plenty. Solutions are a little bit
So I bet
harder.
it wasn't done 30 years ago when the federal would have.
Right,
That's all
so
true.
a lot of this town has a history of like not doing things on time. But on these, this is, purpose of this, getting this group together, these are the kinds of things that the EDC, whatever we can do as a group, can argue and lobby for on the P&Z, of actually getting on the agenda, saying, we've done this thing. Basically, the only thing in our charter is really to advise and do research for the board of selectmen. Everything else is basically we're just running rogue here. But it's to actually go there and say, look, we've got 3 or 4 marinas, you forget, there's guys at the other end of town, too, marinas down there by the town beach. Who are they down there? But,
Oh, the
Old
deep
Harbor and.
right. But, we've done this, our research. These guys need, and to the board, the planning and zoning, but whatever it is, whether it's a sewer district, but especially with the regulations, because I've read them, and they are, people that have never been on a boat or in a boatyard wrote these things. I have no idea where they came from.
They're written in Old English too.
Really, it's like when, Abel Buell, but it's that's what we can do. It's not to say we always win, but you can stand up and say, if you want the town to succeed economically, you're gonna have to address this stuff. And usually, the planning and zoning people at least feign a response. They start something. I mean, that's what we can do when we're a group.
Well, hiring a new planning and zoning.
That's the planner's group.
Right. I've been through this process in other towns, and usually the town planner will quarterback it, will go reach out to other towns and say, what
Thanks for coming.
what does their zoning look like for these districts? And then they'll rewrite the plan and then have public hearings and that type of thing, but it comes from the town planner typically.
It would, we're in the process of hiring
Right,
one.
but we have to get one, and then if you get a new manager, they have to quarterback it. And they're gonna, you know, if you have board members that aren't on board, well,
All you need is 4, you know? I mean, it's a Supreme Court. All you need is 1 extra vote, and you got it. I mean, we have to go through, but even with the planner, if to petition not the planning and zoning, but the EDC can petition a planner to say, here's a bunch of things that we think you've got to really address for the town's economic vitality.
but that's the first step, is getting a good planner to rewrite the zoning and spend the time on that.
To another point, how many businesses in town are owned by people that don't reside in this town? It appears that a lot of us reside in Clinton or a neighboring town. How many- So there are a lot of businesses in town that are owned and occupied by people that live in other towns. I don't think they care much. They come, they do their job, they do their business, and off they go, back to their town. Getting them involved would really help too, instead of just having all the business owners who are local residents and taxpayers in this town. And that's what it seems to be. I've been here for 30 years now.
Yeah, Paul could probably give us a better idea of who, I think a lot of the business owners, the people who actually operate the business, I think many of them, I don't know whether it's most, probably most, live in Clinton. I don't know that for a fact, I'd have to do some research. It's the landowners who are absentee. And, I mean, I think the issue about the next generation, I had a long conversation with the next generation of land buildings in town the other day. It was kind of astounded at how much the building has been allowed to decay and how they've milked it, and has all these great plans and things that he wants to do, but he has 2 uncles. And the question is, does he buy them out or does he sell to them? You know, and what, you know, does he, and he doesn't live in Clinton.
He lives in Montana.
Yeah, he lives in Montana. But he's in the real estate business and he's done some things like this before. So he's looking at it as and they've tried to sell it. Something that if they could sell it, they would have sold it. So now it's a question of what does he do as an heir, and not all the heirs necessarily want to be active. You know, I mean, that's to this issue of the attorney. You know, they get their money and that's all they, you know.
There's just not enough retail, nor is there private housing on Route 1. As I said before, it's all government buildings, churches, post offices, fire department. It's a tough stretch of road.
Not everything we're talking about is a big thing, you know, septic, sewage, that's big. But the only way you get people, whether they live in Clinton or not, is to understand that if we renovate or we make a part of the town look better, they're going to make more money. You got to be able to count at least on their greed.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, and sometimes you can't even count on greed. It's just, I'm never going to let go of this damn thing. But it's the greed thing, you know. If we renovate downtown, your property's going to be worth more.
Yep.
If we do this, it's going to be worth, whether you live in Clinton or not, you're going to make more sales. You're going to have more turns, whatever it is. That's the only way to get people together, and that's one of the impetus of what Tim was saying, is if we're saying, look, the town is, you know, we've been here long enough, things are beginning to get unstuck. I mean, whether you wanted the CVS or not, at least something is being built. I like seeing things being built. They're actually now moving the second deposit on getting the Morgan thing. They're going to actually start raising that pretty soon. People are going to see this thing. The train station is actually going to be built now. You know, they're actually going to do this thing. As those things happen, that's the exact time to grab a hold of people and saying, things are happening now, and you ought to take advantage of it as a greedy landowner. You know, I mean, it's not appearing to their civic pride, it's more to their wallet.
Which is why we're all here.
That's what everybody's here for that. I mean, and that's what the EDC is about. How can we get the town, you know, the reason people should have business in town is, you know, it's because it makes their taxes more stable. That's a greedy thing.
Sure.
I don't care whether you like what's going on or not, but don't you want your taxes to remain where they
Well, you
are?
want the town, the center of the town to look nice.
It is, I mean, and it should, for one thing, it is, with a little imagination, it's a really whole New England looking town if you went through, if it was done right.
Right.
I mean,
Needs a lot of work.
And that's been said for 30 years,
Right.
40 years, 50 years.
Right.
But it does start with that, and that's what hoping, getting enough people together to say, look, together, if we do all this, we're all gonna walk away with more money. And maybe a little bit of pride is a soft benefit,
As I said to my son after his freshman year in college, you still have a shot at most improved.
How'd that work out? Did you get
He did improve, thankfully.
Sadie, what do you have next?
All right. So through conversations with other towns, collective advertising seems to be a good approach for businesses. For example, collective advertising to fund the shuttle. Just wanted to get your thoughts on whether you all would be interested in doing some collective advertising, and if so, through what means. Another example would be, we are considering looking into advertising with Metro North, maybe, something, a little sign as the train passes by New Haven, or in, one of the stops further down the line towards New York. One suggestion is that the businesses all put, some money towards that, to fund that, for a few months to advertise, come visit Clinton, something like that. Just wanted to get, your thoughts on that type of a concept.
Sure. My business only operates in the summer, so it'd be seasonally for me.
How much does something like that cost, Sadie?
We talked to Metro, they don't do Shoreline East advertising, which is weird, because we think the platform, the new train station, something between here and there. But Metro North, there was a kind of a package that had it sound pretty interesting. It's basically $2,500 a station for 4 weeks. What it will include is, you get a poster, which, in train stations, you're going to New York and you see they call them TDI, transit display things. You see that, but you can link it to an app. So, you hit ClintonTourism.com or whatever, this little thing we put together. And once you got into the app, and the app would be by zip code. So, for instance, if you took Fairfield, you could put just the zip codes around Fairfield. Anybody get on the train there, when they click on it. Then you could have all of our whoever want to advertise could be on that, because let's face it, on a transit poster, basically say, come to Clinton, have a great time, and you're not going to say much more. Rule of thumb used to be 5 words on an outdoor poster, but you could have it there and link on to, here it is, you can link onto the trail, you can link onto the shuttle bus, you could have all the stuff going on. I mean, that sounded like a kind of a feasible kind of thing for $2,500 for 4 weeks. And they said they'd work with us because they said it was the town and we're poor and, we're not.
And
we are. We're always online anyway.
Who creates the app or link?
We would have, I think we'd want to do the app.
Okay.
I mean, they would do the production of the sheet poster kind of thing, but I think we'd want to do the app. Just because we want to make sure that everybody was treated fairly, and just the politics alone of you paid money and how's it going to be and what we would put in it. It's not difficult to create that. It's not really put up.
You're looking at me like I'm.
No, but not that you would do it, but it's your world more than
I was just
anybody.
going to say, do we have somebody to do it?
I mean, we're so far down the road here, it's like, yeah, I mean, but it gives you a context of what something would cost. I was thinking, my head was like 10 grand, 4 stations, 4 weeks, or 1 station, 8, however you wanted to cut up. It's about $2,500 per flight. You do it in the summer, you could have restaurants you could have one that's with marinas, you could put the whole thing together. I mean, it's only giving an idea of what the nut is. It's to do something, just on Metro North. You do other advertising, but any link you can get to digital marketing is great, because now you've got them, and they're really looking at it, and they can have your website, they can link to you, they make a reservation. You an open table yet? Are you going to be an open table for? But I mean, all sorts of things that you can do, so. Anyway, that's another thing to think of.
I mean, the other thing is if you had the shuttle and you could advertise that you have the shuttle. I mean, that would be.
Take the train.
I mean, one of the problems is you test the shuttle, but you don't tell anybody about it. it's doomed to begin
Right.
with, because you haven't promoted it.
That's why we priced out the advertising. We had the shuttle to say, get off at Clinton, wait for the shuttle, it'll take you to all this fun.
And it may take more than a year to establish it too.
Yeah.
But the Enfield one, I'm up in Enfield a lot, that's done very well. And they have it painted up green, and they have like the Enfield trail or something on it.
I was just gonna say, is it tourist related?
No, it's not tourism related, it's just they want to connect Thompsonville, which is a part of Enfield, to other parts of Enfield, it just does this sort of, goes like to the library, it might go to the shops, and connect some of the malls and that type of thing. But it does a standard loop, and you can just take it, I believe it's free. And, you know,
So it sounds like the answer is yes to
a
some
mini-
level of
it's a
collective,
mini
whether it be
bus.
the shuttle or something else.
Yeah, trying to figure out
Is
how
that
to,
fair? I mean,
the trick is how do you liquidate it? That's the issue.
Has some kind of budget for advertising.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you say, who should have some kind of budget?
I believe every small business in town should have some,
Does.
does have money for advertising.
everybody's doing
Maybe ways to co-op this is beginning of the budget season, so EDC asks for money for advertising, but by the time you get through, it's like, you lost everything, down the, but there's co-op, and all sorts of ways of leveraging whatever money you want to put into something. But whatever you got is more than we got now. And it's a start, and like Kirk says, it's most improved.
Yeah.
$1 is you can't even define the thousands of percent increase.
I was at orchestra practice last night and had a great poster on the wall and it said, try and fail, try again and fail better.
What else you got to say?
So, yeah, that kind of leads into my last question. So, say we did want to, the businesses were interested in pooling funds for collective advertising for doing the shuttle. Do you all have any thoughts on, should we create a separate organization, a business association? Do we want to use the chamber? How would we go about kind of organizing this? If you have any ideas.
I think the chamber is in a flux, and I don't think, I resigned 5 years ago. Did nothing. They take your money, get a paycheck. The Chamber of Commerce right now is not a very stable foundation.
So
I would like to have it elsewhere.
So I know there's an existing, I think it's an existing nonprofit called Placemakers, correct? So
501c3.
that could be maybe another avenue, kind of revamping that and getting representation from the businesses in town. I don't know too much about it. But
All it is, it's a group of us, about 5 or 6, we formed 501c3. A few years ago, we consider ourselves kind of incubated at Clinton Art Gallery. It's in downtown next to Cindy Stevens one. We've done that. The Clinton Sailing Club, we kind of like underwrote that to get that started. And of course, those guys are great, so they've gone off by themselves, but we were the one to get that thing going. We were trying to work on a Clinton Academy for Music and Design. But it exists. I mean, we've got a track record. We can ask for grants. We can do all that. And really, there's 5 of us. I mean, there's 10, but there's 5 of us that really show up, and 3 of us, maybe 3 of us that do the work kind of thing. But it's a vehicle. And I mean, it's the kind of thing, if we wanted to do this downtown revitalization program as a separate thing, it exists, and that's exactly kind of what it is. It's making place. It's a term. It's actually to try to change parts of a town into something better. The art gallery is that's exactly what it is. Take an old building, talk to Morgan Freeman Smith. Can't go more. Freeman Smith, who's a great guy. I mean, he's a great landlord, absentee, Madison, but get him to do it. The sailing club is another thing. Both are like what we do, so you do almost anything. I mean, you really could. You probably could figure out you could put the shuttle bus under it.
Does that your organization, Placemakers, does it meet regularly?
Well, we were, again, we're down, we meet at
Irregularly.
Mike's place, irregularly. We're supposed to meet, it kind of like lost our mojo because it was one of those things where, 2 people would show up every time, and what do you want to do, Fred? What do you want to do, Kirk? What do you want to do, John? So, but we need a raison d'etre is what we need now. We need something to do.
Maybe this is
This is it.
Yeah.
It's there, and we really should, the placemakers really should be doing something, because you don't want to lose your 501c3 status.
Yeah,
You don't want to lose the ability to apply for grants.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is exactly the kind of thing where, on a much larger scale, we've got the track record. It's a, you know, those are nice things we got
Maybe
going.
what you could do is schedule a meeting and invite
Couple people
everybody,
from this group.
invite everybody to your meeting. And then at that meeting, I think it would make sense to explain what the placemaker is, what you have done in the past, how you go about getting grants, what the grants have been. Obviously, the grants have probably helped you to create the sailing club or the art district or whatever, but we could now use that to support this.
Sure.
group.
That's exactly what, we need a reason to meet again. That was the thing, we're meeting and we're not doing anything. This is the kind of thing. And it's, you know, it's better to fail at something big than to fail at
I think
something.
that
If
makes
you're
a lot more
gonna go fishing for marlin, because if you didn't catch anything, at least you said you were fishing for marlin, you know?
I think that makes more sense. I agree with Steve. Right now, the chamber has to revitalize itself, and I think to expect them to be the conduit to make this happen is probably not a good time. So the placemaker would probably be the right
The
venue.
town does need a chamber, though. I mean, for you people that are running or not in it, I mean, it does, you really should try to reconstitute it as something which is a real chamber of commerce. I mean, we need one. I mean, real chamber of commerces are important, but you're right, we don't have time for that.
Too
Somebody
many
else will come.
changes at the head,
Right.
lead, and it just kind of faltered.
Maybe they could always participate in the Middlesex Chamber to get themselves reorganized and deal with them and really get to see how the Middlesex Chamber operates. That might be a way for the chamber to become more vital here in Clinton, is to go to another place, go to a few meetings there, see what they're all about, and then bring those concepts back to Clinton, and then develop a resolute chamber here for Clinton.
I know the Middlesex Chamber is very sensitive about not seeming to compete with local chambers.
They don't have a local
They're
chamber.
intended to support,
They're not competing with it.
provide resources and
Is there the potential to, say, coordinate with the Killingworth Chamber? I know that there's been discussions in the past of combining Killingworth and Clinton into one chamber. I happen to know the president of the Killingworth Chamber, and he didn't realize that Ken had departed, but he did tell me that at one time that they had discussed about combining the two, because obviously it would be good for Killingworth because they don't have a lot of businesses in Killingworth. It's more of a small chamber. So, there's that potential opportunity too, to recreate our chamber into maybe one that they already have.
At one time, the chamber was a very vital tool.
Was it? Yeah?
Yeah, I started 25 years ago, and it ramped up very, very well for local businesses. And it just, after Ellen left, it just seemed to go on a little downward spiral. I think it's important to get it kick-started again.
Me too. I think it's an opportunity to now, because there isn't a head, they can't even be in their clubhouse anymore, because they gotta get the asbestos out of that, so they're kind of homeless, headless.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, it's Clinton.
Well, maybe if we can get a group start, a larger group participating with placemakers, that could be the catalyst to develop a chamber out of that. And then you continue on your way, and then a chamber becomes created through the placemaker.
What we'll do is,
or recreate.
I'll send a note to everybody here, whether you like it or not. You can go pound salt if you want when they come back. But say, look, we're gonna meet, the placemaker's gonna meet. Probably it's better for all you folks to meet in the morning, since you have real jobs during the day. I mean, you can meet anytime. We usually meet in the morning
Well,
anyway.
ask them, what's a better
5
time?
o'clock.
Cocktail hour.
Right. No, we could,
No,
meet at Chips.
So last time we met at 9, this time we met at 7.
7:30.
What works better?
I met at 8, I came late.
Yeah, what's better for?
But you had coffee, so I wasn't tempted.
You don't carry
I
your...
was gonna say, is it easier for you guys to come at 9 if you're working late night as opposed to 7, or is it?
I'm an early kind of
You're
person,
early,
so
okay, it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter to me.
Before the day gets away from you, sometimes it's better to start. Otherwise, next thing you know, I can't make it this afternoon. We'll start the Chinese thing. I'll send it out saying, look, let's start. Here's a few dates. Is it good? I think we'll get more of our placemakers together to say, look, what we're looking for here is kind of our goal for 19. Here's something we really can do to revitalize the town. And that's the kind of things you get more of us placemakers involved in.
Does anyone know how many members are in the chamber?
Something like 200.
I don't know, maybe there are members, I don't know what they...
We have an intangible in town which nothing to do with businesses, but Clinton is one of the towns that has the most historic houses in the state,
Yeah.
still standing throughout the town. I'm not talking about just Main Street, I'm talking about throughout the town. Went in the Little Red Schoolhouse about 6 months ago. It's like coming to a time walk. That's up by Shemad.
Yeah.
It's still set up from the 1800s. It's a time walk. You don't realize the history in this town.
I realize that sometimes when I'm trying to get something out of the land use office, I'm going through a time warp.
No, I'm talking about,
They have microfiche.
that's an intangible this town has. We don't
Program
sell.
in Cobalt.
That can be part of the attraction of bringing
Oh.
people to Clinton,
Yeah.
is the
Yeah,
historic
sure.
Portion of it.
That's why I just throw
But
it out.
the other part of the component is they have to be better maintained.
Right, that's, right.
There's a lot of old houses, but you drive by and you're like, really?
No, I'm talking about,
Diverted from.
no, I'm talking about.
But on this placemaking thing, I will send a note out to all of you as equals, try in the morning. And it kind of be like, the purpose of that meeting will be, we can tell you more what we do and what it is, but I think everybody likes everybody around the table. And then to say, where can we help this group? And even the broader group, because it's not just the tourists, it's the town. It's really placemaking. How do we revitalize downtown is what I'd like to do. Is what do we do from whatever it is down there to do what you're talking about? How do we get these landlords and everything
I
together?
think that's the way we get the landlords
Right.
together, is to tell them, is to show them in the pictures that were presented this week on revitalizing from Route 1 all the way to the new school.
Right.
And then show it to them, say, listen, this is from your backyard forward. We want you to participate in this for the downtown. And then hopefully that's going to, affect them in some way, in some positive way. And I think that would be the way to approach them.
Very good. Well,
So as a follow-up to this, do we want to then, for an April meeting, do we want to take this group and shift it into placemakers as a follow-up, and then recreate this overall tourism group, invite that whole list again? The whole original list of 100 and some odd people, and try to do a big group thing again in April, or do we just focus on this core group?
Why not invite everybody, the whole list, to the placemakers meeting?
no.
Because it has to be done
No.
snail mail.
One of the reasons that we developed this by ourselves is that we want to get things done. Basically, the
Placemakers, you mean?
Well, yeah,
Right.
the art of the doable. You get 100 people
Well,
together.
you're not gonna get 100 people.
No.
And spin your wheels.
You should have
30 people together.
double digits is bad for a group. Getting anything over 9. I mean, no. I mean,
For placemakers, you're
yes.
saying?
I mean, I don't
I'm
want.
talking about this
Yeah.
group as the EDC
Maybe
Tourism.
delegates or something, but no, you don't want to do that, because then it's not, we're not part of the town, we're just our own little group, and that's why we can get things done. We don't have
So that's for
agendas,
the
we don't post
EDC.
anything, you don't have minutes, just do it,
Okay, so that's for the placemakers thing. So we're going to shift this group for the time being into placemakers.
Just this group that was here today.
Right. And then do we want to have an EDC tourism April meeting inviting everybody again.
We gotta have a reason for them to show
Yeah, if we
up.
have something that's worthwhile to share, then
Okay.
we should, and.
I'm just thinking that way we're including more than
Yeah, I
non-
think
non-
we should
local
play it by
business.
ear.
I think if you have a speaker, I think.
Yeah,
if you
okay,
get
we should
somebody
play-
from the
yeah.
state.
Okay.
Yeah,
Somebody important, somebody from the state, you know.
Like a
those-
tour- yeah, it's been more tourism.
Be real worth it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you could help us,
Yeah,
give us a few names of
Sure,
people that
absolutely.
might be good for us to contact.
I know pretty well the director of the DCD Office of Tourism, so.
Okay, all right, Katie,
Ask
Sadie, then,
I have a $1 million question. Any talk in the Unilever?
well, there's somebody that has a 2-year window right now, but that 2-year window is about
September.
to be expired, this year. And they're still in communication with Unilever to try to make it work for the purchase and sale
Yeah.
of that location.
Mike Massimino?
Right. But you
John
did
Branford.
you did an environmental study, right? Didn't we pay for
There
environmental?
was an environmental study that's completed, he has that information, and I think that's what he's using in his negotiations with Unilever to try to get a commitment from them. I don't know I don't know all the particulars, but obviously he's got to deal with them and,
I know he and his wife just had a kid, he said he's off the map for a while. This guy bike.
Yeah, because it's his son that's doing a lot of the work. His dad runs a business still, right?
Yeah.
What did the environmental study come up with, this big cleanup?
I know that they tested for reclamation of wastewater, and certain parts passed and certain parts didn't, so he was willing to take out of his own pocket water reclamation.
He was?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Yeah.
He said, half the land's good, half the land's bad. As far as the cleanup of soil and asbestos and lead and black mold, I don't know about that part. But
Yeah,
the water
we don't-
reclamation, because we have no sewers.
that's the part
That was a
that's
big
in
part.
negotiation, is the rest of it. So,
Yeah.
it's all got to come down to how willing is Unilever to depart from that property.
I met with him a year ago, and his goal was 2 small Connecticut manufacturing that already existed to want to relocate down here, 200 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, and 35 high-end condos. That's where he wanted to start.
How many acres is that site?
Well, see, there's 20
Yeah,
some odd acres,
yeah, it goes
because it goes all the
right.
way, to North High Street. All those woods there are part of
It's
the,
quite a parcel of land.
the property. So if you take a look at the study that was done for that area, which was from Hull Street all the way to the highway, it included all of that land that.
27 acres or something.
Yeah.
Right.
So so there is.
Some wetlands in there, but
So
it's,
as Steve said, there's a lot of property to do, and that- it's perfect for transit-orientated development, just like what Old Saybrook did by their train station. They built all of those huge,
300 apartments?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're apartments or condominiums, but it would make sense for a,
Amazing.
They are, they're beautiful.
I mean, somebody who buys that property and does, as Steve has mentioned, put residential in there, what a perfect location. You walk to the new Clinton train station, you go into New Haven, you go into New York.
and it certainly changes downtown. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the thing, it gives those businesses now a reason, we had traffic, you know?
Right, now-
Pat the dry cleaner, he goes, when are people gonna move up here? I lost all my
Now-
business.
Now the restaurants in downtown are going to profit from the fact
good for
that
everybody.
you got residences that can walk to the restaurant.
This is one town that should understand a rising tide and raises all boats. If there's ever a town that should do it, it's a coastal town, should understand that.
Right. They're all built along the train lines. I don't care if it's in Windsor, I don't care if it's in Old Saybrook.
No, but anyway, thank you for all for coming.
Thank you.
We'll get back with,
Good seeing you.
we'll get back with what we did today, and I'll also get back on the placemakers thing. I'll send it to all, we're not expecting all of you to show up, but you're all welcome.
I'll probably show up.
Yeah.
This video provided as a public service by Kirk Carr.
the Kirkster. Thank you for watching.